Welcome to the NACE Starleague studio. You're joining us here today for Overwatch action, and we have got 3 matches, 6 teams ready to go up against each other in week 5 of competition. I'm your host, Jacob Palmer. Joining me by my side, I've got Artemis Rain. We're going to be here to call all of the action for you, and the first match that we have, Artie, is a pretty headliner one, I gotta say. We are just out of the gates starting with 2 big names.
I mean, St. Clair, Northeastern, 2 undefeated teams. They are definitely top dogs right now in the division that we're currently going into. And with all that being said, at some point someone's got to lose. And that means today, someone has to. Your undefeated record is going to have just a little bit of a tarnish put on it. Your A is going to become an A-. But that's okay, because at the end of the day, it's a competition.
I would think more it's like one of these teams A pluses is going to go to just a normal A, because they're both tied for first. They're 4-0. Whoever loses this is still going to be in second place, which is enough to get them to the finals. I'm just saying.
I see how you would grade papers now, and like for me, you have to go above and beyond to get that A+. And right now, it's expected that a couple teams are going to be undefeated. So right now, you're just sitting at an A. I'm sorry, you're not getting an A+ from me that easily.
Well, we're talking about the first match, but let's take a look at all 3 matches that we're going to be seeing today. As I said, we're going to be starting out with Northeastern versus St. Clair. Then we're going to be moving on to Southern Miss versus Mizzou for the second match, and then we'll round it all out with Drexel University going up against Western Kentucky. Drexel University also, now that I check my notes, is another team that's 4-0 too. So 3 of these teams out of the 6 are undefeated.
Yeah, and so again, to get that A+, you have to be like that top 1%. And right now, with 3 people tied for that top spot, there's no way that someone's top 1%.
Well, maybe one of these players that we see here is going to be top 1%. Of the roster for Northeastern, we've got Zarya Gaming, Shashi, Hedwig, Scoop, and QG Hop.
And for the side of St. Clair, we're going to have Razor, Redex, Noxious, Emerin, and Squeak rounding out that roster.
Now, when you get 2 teams like this that are kind of at the top of their game, we want to find out a little bit more about them and maybe highlight some of the plays that they've made previously in the season. I do understand with St. Clair, we saw their match against, if I remember correctly, it was Ferris State they faced up against, and were pretty darn dominant in that match.
Yes, and I actually do believe we'll be able to take a quick peek at some of the matches that these teams have had, specifically highlighting that one against Ferris that Jacob alluded to.
On the high ground, too,
the Elios map, which again we'll be seeing once again. We won't be seeing for our starting map today, but the Winston gameplay that came in absolutely strong from Squeak.
And I understand, Nerdy, that just beyond the professional, knowing these players by their abilities via casting, there's also just knowing them personally a little bit too, that St. Clair is just a real all-around great team.
Yes, they were at one of the lands that we went to in May of this year. Chris Funston, their coach, is a fantastic human being. I personally got time to hang out with some of the St. Clair players as well after the event had concluded. All around, just a fabulous group of human beings. They're a real fun bunch to goof around with and have a good time with. And so, of course, I hope the best for them, but also on the same token, I'm still a caster, and so I get to root for both teams.
Yeah, and both these teams are really neck and neck in terms of who they've gone up against. I mean, they're in the same division, so they'll go up against the same. Both of them won their matches against Ferris State. Both of them went up against Wisconsin Stout, and a lot of these win-loss records, there are a whole bunch of 3-0s for both of these teams.
And what's interesting is that the side of Ferris tended to favor that JQ composition more, whereas the side of Northeastern, they actually really enjoy playing the Zarya comps. Now, we see that JQ comp coming out from St. Clair as well. They were just more dominant on it, and Ferris was forced to make adjustments. So I'm interested to see how the current situation with tanks, as it'll be shifting very soon with the new season coming in, is going to work out for these 2 teams, because frontline is very important. You lose your tank, odds are you got to completely reset, or it's a lost fight unless you can immediately get elimination or coin an ultimate. Same thing with like losing one of your supports, but the front line is really what I'm be focusing on.
Speaking of things changing up, this is a nice surprise. We're starting out on Oasis, one of the control stages that we haven't really started out on. It's mostly been Li Jiang, but I believe this is the first time, if my memory serves me correctly, it's week 5, and it's been a while, and it's been all this time until we finally get to see Oasis.
I enjoy Oasis. Of all 3 maps, Currently, just based off of what we have, like what we see standard meta-wise, whether it be, you know, Battle Cattle, Zarya, JQ, or even the Reinhardt comp, I love Gardens. If you're going to go more brawl heavy, I also enjoy going with, you know, University. City Center, however, there's some flexibility. Are you going to play the bait and switch game, immediately force them to point, let one team take high ground, plan for that, and play on the opposite side by cars and force them to come down to you? It depends on, you know, what style of gameplay you favor and what you've seen from the enemy team. So hopefully we don't start on City Center.
I would mainly want to start out, I think you mentioned University. I always just like that stage because of the hole right in the middle of the point. It looks like we are going to be starting out on it, so I am very happy this development. Anyway, I was saying, you know, the hole right in the middle of the point, I love it for two reasons. I like it, one, if a player is kind of thinking outside of the box and can quickly duck down in there for, you know, a flank route that maybe the other team isn't expecting. I also like it just in terms of pure accidental stepping into it as well.
I have a love-hate relationship, unlike Jacob, with that spot, because there's a mega pack, it can save my life, or I'm stuck rotating for a long time.
Well, we're going to be starting out the first, and look at all this room St. Clair is making for themselves, pushing their way up to the choke points, getting rid of the Immor fields. Shashi is very low on health. He's going to have to duck back a little bit, looking for an alternate flank route to maybe get a few hits, finds one, and Scoop is going to get the pick onto Emerin. This could be what Northeastern needs to push past this choke. They're slowly making their way toward the point, but St. Clair, just by positioning alone, has already captured the point and gotten 10%.
You got to keep in mind the win condition of these two comps, which St. Clair, they are running a brawl-heavy composition. It's all gas, no brakes, and then everybody has to hit the brakes. So it means get the kills and eliminations quickly, get your proper positioning, and then get set up into a correct spot to stay alive. Whereas the side of Northeastern, they play for the longer spam. However, early fight, they ended up losing Hedwig first, and losing a DPS in the spam comp makes it difficult. They chose to just stay and wait. They did get a pick, however, they had encroached on the property that was owned at that point by St. Clair, and St. Clair could blow them up without spending a whole lot of cooldowns.
Well, speaking of getting eliminations quickly, Noxious has been on a tear. He got a triple last fight. The window's going to be placed down. Those are dangerous flame strikes being thrown out. Razor gets the pick onto the other Baptiste. Emerin also gets in on the action. Now all the supports are gone for Northeastern. Hedwig brought out the railgun shot, but can only be happy with taking out one support. St. Clair wins that fight and goes past 60%.
The only ult that was spent was Window. For the side of Northeastern, we're getting close to Bob. Transcendence is online as well as Window. However, St. Clair, that Blizzard Online artillery strike, which is going to be used early, might be able, it's going to pick up Scoop, so that's automatically going to put them in a rough situation. They do use Window. Everyone should be able to back off. May's forced into Cryo Freeze, has Blizzard online. We also still have the Shatter from Squeak that we may see come through here to play cleanup, but they really don't need it, as Squeak decides to charge into the Sigma and swing his hammer. 180 shattered, that's unfortunately whiffed.
They haven't lost anyone. Oh, Noxious. As soon as I say that, Hedwig gets the pick onto Noxious. We also hear the Gravitic being brought out by Northeastern, making their way toward the point not a moment too soon, but Squeak and Razor are still going to be enough of a pain, taking out Scoop and Hedwig to keep Northeastern off the point, and St. Clair wins the first in a clean 100.
All right, so that is University out of the way, the map that you tended to favor a little bit more. And take a quick look at this replay. The Sigma lift, Beat was dropped at the apex of the lift, so backline was able to sustain and wait for Noxious to come back. Reinhardt was almost all the way back to the point as well. And it does look like the next one we are going to is City Center.
Oh, the one you were dreading.
I only dread it if it's the first map because the amount of adaptation that has to take place if you're running the wrong comp and you go to the wrong place at the beginning. With the understanding of what we've seen thus far from St. Clair, Northeastern should have an idea that they want to run a brawl comp. Could have stuck with the spam that they were going for, however, it looks like they too are going to go with a variation, and Red X is going to be the first one sent to the Shadow Realm from this Hanzo.
St. Clair, they're going to lose another one. Squeak goes down with the tank gone. they are still going to be able to pick up some eliminations here and there thanks to Noxious and Amarin taking out Northeastern. So despite the tank going down at the beginning of the fight, the DPSs for St. Clair were just that good to still be a threat to Northeastern. Right now, both the teams have made their way on toward the point, trying to get a shot onto Scoop. And now that Zarya is going to round the corner. Noxious is just going to slide away and not deal with that headache for the time being.
They also had lost Lucio early on, and credit where it's due. Sashi on this Hanzo was absolutely a dominant force in last week when we got to watch Northeastern. Managing to run around and flank Noxious. Noxious gets dangerously low. Almost completely eliminated. We see those health bars start to regen. Squeak looking for this Bastion. Does not land the knife. Bubble is dedicated, decides to turn around on the Zarya, who is getting very close to the back line, pulls them in. There is the axe, and Zarya is going to be eliminated. Bastion quickly thereafter.
Sashi is the only one still alive and just has to wait back on point to regroup with the team. Northeastern is just going to be bringing their beat online as well as their window. St. Clair hasn't charged up any ultimates yet, but I have to imagine that Genji Blade, Overclock, and Rampage, as well as their own beat, is probably going to be used in this next fight.
We're going to see Zarya Gaming makes their way in. Ooh. They do get Razor. They pop window. It's easily LOS if the team decides to rotate into the middle pillar. And we do see that JQ is getting worse for wear, but pulls in the Zarya. Says, if I go, you go too. Both Zarya Gaming, and Squeak sent away. Front lines are gone. Emerin gets deleted by Sashi. Noxious looking for an opportunity to find Bastion, who's in artillery form, who returns the favor in kind. Sashi picking up a two-piece.
Shimada rivalry goes in favor of Hanzo right now, right as the Genji took out his blade. QG Hop also doing good work taking out Razor. That's going to be Northeastern's first one-team fight, and the point taken back for them.
Going into this next fight, we have Artillery Strike online from Hedwig. And we also have Sashi with that Dragon Strike coming very close to Dragons. To grab as well from Zarya Gaming. We will have Beat online for Red X, as well as Squeak having this Rampage. Squeak is forced to use Shout early. We see the Graviton Surge and Dragon combo come through. Red X hits Beat, but it's to no avail. Both Red X and Squeak are eliminated.
Can this Genji even get away? Emerin is low on health. Nope, he's going to be taken out by Zarya, and that's pretty important. That's a nice, healthy stagger placed onto the Saints. Have to regroup, only have the Rampage to use for this next fight. We're going to see a swap be brought over by Emerin. Going to be swapping over to the Mei. Northeastern also coming onto this artillery shot. Going to have the window as well. St. Clair also is going to have the Kitsune rush, so they can rush. They can really get into this point fast if they're going to engage with it. That's what they're going to do, and also bring out the Rampage, throw the ante onto the Zarya Gaming. The Immortality Field is thrown out in response, but it's taken out by Noxious, and Northeastern still hanging in there, able to take out Squeak. St. Clair's tank has been taken out a lot of times during these fights. Artillery now brought out by Northeastern, just helping to clear off the point because they realize they're going to 80%. They're in last team fight territory. This Zarya, oh my goodness, that's a scary charge.
And we have a swap from Squeak onto the tried and true Reinhardt, but Reinhardt, when you're playing Zarya, means you just hit the W key past them. Lucio made the best attempt to boop Zarya away, but ends up getting deleted in the process. Two are getting corralled inside the center of point. Zarya Gaming still at 96 charge and climbing at this rate. It's like someone's trying to stand on top of a tower, ends up going down. Noxious goes down, Razor goes down. Red X will be the last one to possibly get a touch on this point. Red X will not, and that's a round victory to Northeastern.
I must admit I was pretty nervous after University ended because we had been hyping this up some more. These are the top two undefeated teams tied for first place. Is St. Clair just going to sweep this? But Northeastern has proved that they aren't going to go down without a fight. Now we move on to the final stage of Oasis to decide it all.
I don't know who made the official call, but props to the coach for the side of Northeastern, Temporal. Don't know if you hopped in the comms and said, yo, let's run the comp that we run best, which is this Zarya Brawl composition. They absolutely demolished the side of St. Clair. Now the question is, are they going to stick with it as we move on to Gardens or not?
5, 4, 3, 2,
Judging by the outlines, now they're going to be starting off with the Sim Teleport. They used that last time as well. Quick swap over to Scoop now to get back to point. Eastern, yeah, still running the Zarya. St. Clair is going to be going back onto the Rhine Brawl as well. May in tow.
Only thing is not being 15 seconds in means you can't hit tab to identify there's a Bastion. Well, sorry, the Hanzo, we can off angle onto your Bastion. Bastion's gone. Reinhardt tries to chase down the Hanzo. Looks like Lucio will get there first. Everyone got walled inside of this room of Hookah, but the follow-up wasn't fast enough because tension was split from the side of St. Clair. They are going to be able to lock this point down. Don't see any swaps coming out from Northeastern. Honestly, don't think they need any. But Emerin, look at that charge on Blizzard already after one fight.
Oh, and that's a great wall place too. Unfortunately, also right after it hit the Zarya with the bubble, so that charge is going to be climbing up ever higher. That's one huge beam that she's shooting out. Ryan's going to tank that for the shield. Try to take out the Zarya, just focus down, throw the window out. She bubbles, but it's not enough to stop all that raw damage that it's placed onto Northeastern.
We also had Sashi off-angling on the left, but May just decided to crouch and ignore Sashi. Reinhardt charging in, trying to get this Bastion, hungry for another elimination, but it looks like it's going to be Noxious to end up picking up Hedwig instead. Emerin once again pushing forward, uses wall to get the high ground, but forces Cryo Freeze at the same time. That's a go button for the DPS to eliminate this May. Emerin does not make it out alive. We do see Beats going to get dropped by Red X, even though Grav's close to coming online for Zarya Gaming. That could be a death sentence once Zarya gets that ultimate online.
Also online to use in combination with that grab is going to be the Dragon Strike by Sashi. Artillery also an option for huge amounts of damage. Dragon Strike isn't going to come out right now though, because Squeak was able to take out Sashi, but while he was off, one tank getting one pick, the other tank, Zarya Gaming, had a whole triple to just tear through St. Clair and take the point back for Northeastern.
Artillery Strike, Dragons, Graviton Surge, Beat, and might as well just say Window as well. We do hear that Noxious is choosing to pop the artillery. Instead, it's just going to give a little extra charge over to Zarya Gaming. Now it's just relying on Window, Mailed, and Shatter coming online for St. Clair.
Graviton Surge is brought out as well as the Dragon. St. Clair hasn't spent anything. They're going to bring out the Shatter in response, but Squeak is taking so much damage he can't follow up after it. And then the Blizzard, as the fight was a loss for St. Clair, Emerin uses the Blizzard. And that's all the ultimates burned off for the Saints now. Northeastern couldn't have asked for a better outcome.
However, Bastion and Lucio do manage to get the point cap for their team, 70% and counting. We're entering last fight territory. Only Window online and Bastion ultimate for Northeastern. We've seen these Bastion ults manage to eliminate one squishy. Typically, as odd as it is, it's a Lucio in most of these instances, but Bastion might end up getting eliminated. Nope, Noxious is going to be able to be saved. We do see Immortality is used. Window is used. Bastion runs the corner with Zarya. Response window will come out, as well as Immortality as Hedwig gets eliminated, as does G-Hop.
The eliminations pile up for St. Clair ever more. All that's left is Shashi, who's just trying to run away, can't get away, and it's not even going to go into overtime for Stage 3. St. Clair is going to take control 2-1. We'll also get a chance to see who is going to get the honor of being the first play of the game.
Sashi.
Shashi, yep. I mean, you could have done a play like this on City Center, but I knew Shashi was here to play. Getting that first pick, if you remember, just came out of spawn, moved past the choke, saw the support in mid-air falling down from the high ground, and just a quick flick over to take him out in mid-air. That's how you know the Hanzo is going to be a pain to deal with.
Sashi is a very, very strong Hanzo player, scary in the best sense of the word, and honestly, if there's ever a reason to be checking your head, Sashi is one of them. If you think if Sashi is going to be on Hanzo, you need to make sure you're not just putting yourself in the open, i.e. Bastion on the high ground in Gardens. Hanzo rounded the corner, instantly started just pot-shotting on the Bastion, and Bastion was gone.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for Oasis. Now we move on to Hybrid, and normally we've had this as a foregone conclusion, but in the past couple of weeks, we've had a lot of pleasant surprises, with Eichenwald being brought out a good amount of times.
Okay. We're still going to assume that it is just going to be King's Row. However, right now it's not St. Clair's pick, and based off what we've seen coming out from Northeastern, I do think we might see Ike.
Well, while we're waiting, we can take a look back at some of the key replays, some of the key moments that overall changed the course of the battle for Oasis. St. Clair just got off to an explosive start on City Center, but it wasn't going to be enough. Despite this huge start that they got, Northeastern came roaring back to claim the stage. Oh my goodness, Artie, right behind you, it's Eichenwald again.
Oh, wow.
Wow, I guess, we're having a change in overall strategy. Kings Row over the past few weeks has taken a back seat.
Maybe people are finally getting bored?
Maybe. It only took, it only took however many years, It's almost a decade coming up on.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that to me. You're hurting my soul.
All right, I'll just move right past that. Let's just talk about Eichenwald and your overall thoughts on this stage.
I think you can get very silly on Eichenwald. There's some that'll say the escort portion of Ike from gate past the castle, well, past the, wall of the castle to get to the actual castle itself is a pain, i.e., Matt Merck, one of our very own Overwatch players that we're close with, who's casted with us before, says that he despises it. However, I personally believe any team that is good at their rotations, knows how to create frontline pressure, and knows when they've overstayed their welcome and gets out before then, can be very dominant on this map. And my case in point truly is actually Zarya Gaming, because last week when this map was picked against them, because they did win on control, the follow-up team, which was Ferris, ended up picking Eichenwald. Zarya Gaming just completely turned into full beast mode. High charge, walks into castle alone and picks up stagger after stagger onto all of these squishies that are trying to get up there on their own. And that really comes down to fully resetting, understanding when you shouldn't be going places, and not overstaying your welcome. Because Zarya Gaming, after that charge was gone, got out of there.
Excuse me. And another thing that I think of is one of those stages where it's really a nail-biter coming down to the final stage, because it's one of those, the defending team is always somewhat close to the final point, but there are some stages where the final parking spot is just right out of the door of spawn. And Eichenwald, you can have some pretty defense. I'm almost getting Temple of Anubis flashbacks from it a little bit on how difficult some of those points can claim when the other team, the respawns are going to be in their favor timing-wise.
Yeah, the one thing that is the pseudo-saving grace is that you don't spawn right by the door, you spawn in the middle, and so there's still a little bit of a walk until you get out of the safe zone to get onto the point. And so it's not as bad as a 2CP map in that instance, but yes, when it comes to how close the spawn doors are to the objective, Eichenwald's probably one of the worst. When it comes to the hybrid maps, I think the worst. Yeah, actually Eichenwald's probably the worst when it comes to the hybrid maps as far as distance to travel to get to that point.
Seems like we're also having a sub be brought out for one of the teams, so trying to change things up a little bit. Sub for St. Clair, we're going to see Soaks be brought out instead.
So, predicting a tank swap?
Most likely. St. Clair did have a bit of a problem in a few team fights that Reinhardt, especially in City Center, was very reliably the first pick, so maybe that is what they're going to try to just shake up here.
If you're a Reinhardt main, I understand it. However, the caveat is, again, Zarya can walk past you. That's why right now, if you're running Rein, you typically see that Symmetra. So the Symmetra doubles as your second opportunity for mobility, and then also keeps the pressure off of you by getting that full beam charge. But there was no Symmetra coming out for the side of St. Clair, so could see a tank swap here to someone maybe just battle cattle.
It's interesting that you brought up the Symmetra, because that was consistently the opener for Northeastern as well. They were very fond of using that Symmetra teleport and then quickly swapping off of her, but still, it was their standard opening almost no matter what the stage.
You have two options now to get out of spawn that people have recognized, other than, I'm disregarding Lucio Speed Boost because it takes place after them. It is SimTP, or you can have JQ shout and then you swap off.
We'll see if either one of those options is used. Junker Queen was a presence for St. Clair. Even though if we are seeing a tank swap, then it might just change. We're going to be seeing a Sigma now be brought out instead.
Not sure who's on defense, but theoretically following tradition, if you don't pick map, you pick side, and most often you go defense if you're picking side. We have the Brig Baptiste with this Sigma. And yes, you were correct, it is going to be St. Clair, and actually it's Red X getting subbed out, so we have Soaks coming in on Brigida. That is a lot of charge to the Zarya, but you get Wombo comboed between stickies as well as a rock to the face. Zarya is now gone.
Very good start for St. Clair. The Echo's going to hang out above the rooftops. Regroup with the team, and all Northeastern can do that they've lost their tank is just wait that respawn out. About half a minute already burned out from their time bank. They go in under the archway again, making quick work, rotation into the computer shop. Now this Echo once again is trying to pinch them in. The Bastion is going to try to put a stop to that, but the Sig gets right in his face and says, no thank you.
And Emmerin, the person that I thought was going to get eliminated, ends up finding the Bastion. We'll follow up with Zarya Gaming. Soaks will end up finding Sashi. And then we have Squeak picking up G-Hop.
St. Clair, I was wondering there with that peek over to the spawn if they would get maybe just a little bit too cheeky in pushing up, but no, they recognize they don't want to overextend themselves. This Bastion once again getting focused down by this Echo. Area Gaming off the respawn also hasn't been able to charge up at all. He's consistently above 80 last game. That won't be a factor though. Those are some good bubbles. Gravitic is going to be brought out, catches the Bastion, slants him into the ground. Window used in response by Northeastern, but Squeak also with the help of Soaks is going to take out Scoop. Zarya Gaming is going to realize the fight is lost, go off the edge and reset again. And this Hanzo, this is a stagger that St. Clair wants.
Be careful.
They're gonna be careful and get away with it.
That honestly, when Zarya walked in, we saw double bubble. Both got committed at the exact same time. I was a little concerned because I was like, wow, if they hit the gas pedal, Zarya's really high charge right now. It was calculated, you can see, because then they went for the Sigma lift, knowing that the only thing they had to focus on at that point was immortality. One ult spent, there's still going to be 4 in the bank for St. Clair in this next fight. However, Northeastern is within inches of every single one of their ults now.
Window used, immortality field taken out by Northeastern. Hedwig falls. Shield bash, no less. Emmerin also gets a pick onto Scoop. They all fall like dominoes yet again. And we're more than halfway past Northeastern's time bank. They're coming up on just a minute left.
St. Clair now is relying on Noxious with his overclock to clutch this next fight, considering they're going into every ultimate for Northeastern. This next fight is either going to be probably going to be a lot of red on the screen for St. Clair. Northeastern looking to set up the Dragon combo. There's not a whole lot to stop it either.
Oh, this flank being brought out on a Sojourn is stopped.
What?
Noxious just responds with an effortless flick, and Northeastern is sent back to start one more time.
Okay, they have 45 seconds in the bank. That is enough time to get another fight in as long as no one staggers out the front door to Emmerin. They have every single ultimate in their back pocket at this point. Sig is the closest one to ult for the side of St. Clair. They're aware of this. They should be able to hang on to beat for it, and they'll be A-okay, but they need to get this Dragon combo off, which means you've got to force Sig hands.
Emmerin almost got taken out, was able to heal up. Now the Bastion is going to be moving but right into the Sig as well. Noxious is going to be falling. The Graviton Surge is brought out. Emmerin is still going to be able to survive and take out Sashi, but it's not enough as a Dragon Strike is also brought out, taking out Razor. They had to charge up all their ultimates and use them all at once, but they've gotten the payload.
And hats off to Hedwig, literally rushing in, playing as the front line on Bastion, going into turret formation to force the Sigma's hands. And then Zarya Gaming comes in again, and Squeak is going to be sent to respawn. Claiming the high ground on top of this castle wall, just like we saw last week come out from Northeastern.
Copy now on deck for Emmerin. To use it, I always like it when it tries to do. Just trying to focus right down in the middle of the Gravitic. Isn't a match find anybody. Northeastern's going to be forced to use their beat to survive through all of that. But now Squeak with a double takes out Northeastern. They're still getting a good bit of push on their payload, but that's going to stop as Squeak makes the rotation over and is going to force Northeastern back to spawn.
What we also saw last week was Northeastern choosing to put Sashi on cart and have Lucio go forward, which is against the norm that we are used to, and I'm not positive that strategy is going to be as useful here considering how much damage Sashi is able to put forward for their team. And that pressure is paramount for making sure your tank can stay alive.
Who is this copy going to be brought out to? Catches out the Hanzo, brings out the copy to survive, and is now in a hot pursuit. Who is going to be the better Bowmaster? Noxious and Soaks are getting picks, but I want to know how this duel's turning out. This is so climactic, taken out of the copy, and manages to survive. The copy only being used at that point to survive. Get an extra health bar.
I think Emerin had 7 health out of copy, possibly less. That is very nerve-wracking. Squeak's coming up on lift. Zarya Gaming again with the Graviton Surge online. There's nothing to counter-grab but Squeak.
We're all going to be forced into close quarters. St. Clair doesn't have the Gravitic used, but they're quite yet. In a few seconds, that will change. It's going to be the only ultimate that they can use. Northeastern, by contrast, is getting really close to having several. They've already got the Graviton Surge. They're going to use that, but before Sashi can charge up the Dragon Strike, he is taken out by Emerin. It has been those two DPSs that have been going after each other this whole game. And Emerin, more times than not, coming out on top.
Zarya Gaming trying to harass backline right now. Brigitte manages to survive. We see the Dragon Strike go right across the payload, as does the Artillery Strike, trying to force back the defense and give their team a little bit of breathing room for Northeastern. Rail shot from Noxus finds Hedwig. That's multiple stickies landing on Sashi. Sashi does have Baptiste with them, so they should be okay. Instead has to rely on the mini pack. Going to high ground, we see G-Hop go down, Sox go down as well. Echo versus Hanzo again, and they both eliminate each other.
Swap over to the Doomfist for St. Clair. You got to think Northeastern needs to stick on to this point. They only have their Lucio left, who's trying to keep it going, but Squeak now comes in, forces him off. He's going to try to make that overtime fuse tick down, but Scoop is just tanking this out with the Lucio.
Live, Scoop.
Oh.
Scoop lived for a very long time. Oh my gosh,
it's enough to get the Tracer.
Can Tracer get another touch so Diva can come in as well? Looks like just in time, but Emerin's come in with the copy. 94 on a copy pulse bomb, just gonna drop it on cart, make sure no one else can touch. And that's gonna be a round 1 end. Northeastern halfway through to the second checkpoint.
Score.
St. Clair burned off all of Northeastern's time in the first third of the stage. So only Northeastern having basically 4 ultimates that they could all use at once that finally got through St. Clair's defenses. So we're going to be guaranteed that we're not going to be seeing an overtime this match, and I think St. Clair, even if they might be more used to fighting on King's Row, because everyone's used to fighting on King's Row, still has a lot to show on Eichenwald if their defense is anything to judge by.
This is why you don't just practice King's Row. You gotta have your ace in the hole. That's a different map. It seems as though some love has been transferring over to Eichenwald in this last season. Granted, that may go right back to King's Row when all the tank nerfs come through.
Well, good things don't always last forever.
No, but we got to enjoy it while it lasted.
That's true. I like that outlook on life. All right, here we go. St. Clair, just a hop, skip, and a jump away from claiming the victory and moving on to Flashpoint at match point. They just need to get through this first part, claim the payload, and then get about halfway. Good news is they don't have to make it toward the bridge. I was wondering if the bridge might have come into play just because there was an overtime situation. Any sort of CC could have knocked him off the edge. Didn't come to that, but I was kind of hoping it would.
We saw Scoop as well as Sashi forward a little bit, and then Scoop got Sashi into the backline in a safe position after taking some initial chip shots. Sox is actually going to be on the mercy here to pocket Emerin on this Echo. Possibly that extra damage boost being the thing that they need in order to surmount the DPS that's coming out from the side of Northeastern, because this Hanzo 1v1 has not been going in Emerin's favor enough. So instead, we're going to take the long route, yes, and the hunting season that has begun, and the first on the list is Sashi.
An old adage in Overwatch and a lot of other games, never take a fair fight, and having this mercy pocket is really coming in handy for Emeren, who's now going on to the BAP, takes him out in a flash. The Emeren pocket, the mercy pocket, works out beautifully for St. Clair. They take the point in their first push.
Well, if you think about it, the 1v1s between
Oh.
Sashi and Emeren were so equal. It was very 50-50, and they're both playing the off-angle heroes. So having that extra pocket to put you just above Sashi enough is a very good strategy, I think.
Someone's been practicing their lineups.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Oof. But as I'm talking about having that extra boost, Sashi with the recon dart takes out Emeren.
Window's going to be placed down, but Zarya Gaming and Sashi are out for revenge. They've taken out both supports for St. Clair. Squeak trying to take out this Zarya has just brought on the Gravitic. Right now is probably not the best time to use it. It's just going to go down and regroup with the team, because they're going to have a whole bunch of ultimates for next fight.
Once again, I'm worried about this grab. If Zarya Gaming is high charge, grabs 2 or 3 people, and then just right clicks inside of them, it can be quite deadly. Plus, we have Sashi coming up with this Dragon Strike. You really gotta hope that Immortality is in the perfect spot, or that it's absorbed by Sigma. And it's gonna be used to solo grab the Baptiste. Immortality is used. BAP is also gone. Graphitic Flux in response. Noxus is going to be eliminated. Emeren, who copied the Bastion on the high ground, is raining fire down from above, but is not able to find anybody. But gives Mercy enough time to come in and get the res off as we see the enemy Amp Matrix come out just out of Bastion ultimate form for Echo. Emeren chilling on the coastline, hoping to stay alive long enough to provide extra pressure, but gets eliminated by Sashi, who just got back from spawn.
Dragon Strike also making St. Clair's problem a little worse, but they use the Immortality Field, and Noxious with the overclock picks up. I guess you can call that a collateral with Hedwig and Scoop.
Squeak is encroaching on this space on the high ground where Noxious is currently in a 2v2, making it a 3v2. Baptiste is forced to drop. It's Hanzo. Slide is used to get back onto the high ground. Lucio is the one contesting cart. Dancing around yet again, it is Scoop for their life. Noxious is going to get eliminated. Tracer goes deep in the back line. Recall is forced from Emeren. Looks like enemy Tracer recall as well, but there's a swap to the Kiriko, so now we do see that there's going to be a little extra healing in favor of Hedwig.
Payload is oh so close, just about 4 meters away. Emeren gets the pick onto Zarya Gaming with the tank gone. Q-Hop falls next by Squeak, but Hedwig with the Tracer, being the annoying force that Tracer can often be, getting a pick here, there, takes out Emeren, and Squeak once again on the payload, being able to stall out for enough time for teammates to regroup and come in the fight.
Squeak is going to now officially be staggered. However, it looks like Hedwig is going to be on a duck hunt looking for the enemy Tracer, knowing they're close by, not going to allow them to come in and stall. It's going to get forced out back onto the high ground of Bridge. I don't think Emeren's location was officially found.
Sashi and Emeren have just been in kind of a fight to see who can get the best flanks this whole time. And they keep one-upping each other. The question is, who's going to come out on top? Well, Noxious is going to make their name known. Gravitic's also used right on the point. Zarya is going to bubble in it, but all the damage being forced out. Can they mow down that Zarya? She's down to half health. The payload's now going forward with one person pushing it. Are they just going to keep Northeastern off the point? They are!
They didn't notice!
That is great distraction by St. Clair. Fight was so intense and one person just sits off to the side and claims it. Oh man, that's just sticking in there till the very last moment. It always amazes me how used to the geometry of these stages these players are, that they know the platform is right down there so they can't fall under everything. It's how the Echo got away Emeren as well. They just know every little bit of these matches. I also just want to check one thing to make sure I'm not crazy, okay? There was just a few bits of that last fight that were strangely Valorant to me. We had the Sigma lining up it had lineups on the rock, and then collaterals being picked up by the overclock. By the way, if you want to see actual Valorant, you should tune in on Wednesday tomorrow, NACE Starleague, as you always should. But I just got to say, there were a few things in there that was like, I was thinking, I'd expect that in a different game.
Okay, so I blame this, and it's not a bad thing, but I feel like lineups have become very popularized because of TikTok and a lot of content creators being able to make quick videos of these goofy lineups that they have. And I'm not saying that all these lineups we see from Overwatch players are from TikTok. Some of them they do come up with on their own. People do spend a lot of time in custom games, specifically on like Ana, learning Ana-nade lineups, figuring out what works, what doesn't, stuff like that. However, I have noticed since Overwatch has gotten popular, when Overwatch started getting popular on TikTok, there was a lot of lineups that I started seeing a lot of goofy Moira gameplay that I would see just being used as rage bait on TikTok, now actually leaking into actual ladder play. So I blame it on TikTok.
As you can blame a lot of things on, but we won't get into that. We have got the third stage to get to. Flashpoint, we've only seen New Junk City be brought out a few handful of times. Most people have been wanting to go to Sarvasta instead, which, you know, is fair.
It is going to be Northeastern's pick. So honestly, I see the appeal of Sarvasta, and personally, in my biggest opinion, it is not just the way the corridors are built, but it is the map geometry in itself. It is when you are going to chase people to play cleanup, even though that spawn seems like it's really far away, all of a sudden, if you're on New Junk, you see the actual spawn door itself, and you have an oh no moment because you are really far away from the point. However, on Sarvasta, you can be just as close to that spawn door, but because of how many buildings there are, how many walls there are, you're blocked. You're not seen. You're able to make it out alive. There's a lot of natural cover. And as I'm talking about it, we actually are going to go to Sarvasta.
All right, the old favorite as far as NACE Starleague has been concerned. We've seen this time and time again. We also saw this was the same stage that was chosen in one of St. Clair's previous matchups against Ferris State. So they should know this stage inside and out. And if they perform well on it, they'll clean this up in a 3-0 sweep and make themselves the undisputed first-ranked team in their division.
Still with Justin A.
Still just, oh my goodness, you are brutal. What's going to get the A+ then for you? What puts them over the edge if they're undefeated for the whole season?
Win the championship.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hey, okay, hear me out. When you hit grad school, teachers are like, to earn the A+, you have to go above and beyond. It's not just you borderline, you know, almost 100% every single one of your assignments. You have to be the extra. And it's not extra credit. You literally, there is a extra grade that's thrown in. It's, you know, your involvement within the course. And if your involvement is good, you might be able to get an A+ if all of your assignments were also good. So winning the championship, that's how you get the A+. Everybody else, you're at an A right now or an A-.
Well, shouldn't take it too hard, I suppose. There is no GPA difference necessarily.
Not here.
The two. Not here. Not from where we are. We can't necessarily speak to whatever universities that other people are attending. Restrictions apply, your results may vary. But at least from where we're standing, A+ are just that little extra, the good noodle star placed onto your grade, if you will. All right, so we head into Sarvasta. The music is swelling up. It's St. Clair's time to shine, or Northeastern is going to start off a reverse sweep. I sure hope we do see that, because St. Clair seemed to be getting off to an extreme start on Oasis, and then Northeastern fought back, drove it to a map 3, so hopefully see these two tied for first teams match each other in terms of skill.
From one team, I can for sure see a Bastion.
1.
That's about it.
Initial
The lines are very small.
Mark.
Bastion, Zarya, and that is going to be Northeastern, their standard tried and true comp that's been very successful for them, whereas St. Clair is going with the Rhine Brawl with Bastion May. wall and maul composition, but you don't have to get as close and personal in their face because of the Bastion. It allows you a little extra range. We do see Noxious going to eliminate the enemy Bastion. Wall comes up, traps Zarya, but gets broken very fast. However, Noxious has already mowed through the competition and removed everyone else from play.
Now the flashpoint is unlocked. They got to get back to it. They were getting right in the face, and that's a nice stagger placed onto Shashi as well. Keeping Northeastern at bay for just a little bit longer, and with how fast these flashpoints charge up, that is not an insignificant amount of time.
Zarya has already had one bubble. Force gets a little extra charge. Bastion comes re-engaging using turret form. Zarya is split off. Zarya goes down. Noxious goes down on the Bastion. Sashi off-angling, not getting any attention from anybody, trying to pick up this Baptiste. Unfortunately, G-Hop's already gone, and Sashi gets charged against the wall by Squeak and eliminated.
Past 50%. St. Clair not making any huge major mistakes thus far. They've charged up the window and are going to be coming into home range on the artillery shell as well. Shatter and Blizzard also hanging out as possible options in the near future.
G-Hop has window almost online. If they can stay in the poke phase a little longer, they've used Immortality already, which means Ryan wants to know your location as Hedwig goes down, Sashi goes down, Zarya Gaming's gone, and G-Hop. That is the end for point one. We're going to move on to the next one. Remember, it is first to 3, so there's 2 more opportunities for Northeastern to make sure that St. Clair does not end this map in rapid succession.
But with Scoop being taken out last, that means he's the last to come back in, meaning his speed boost is not going to be there, giving St. Clair all this time to set up wherever they want. Judging by Artie's reaction here, it's going to be a nasty surprise for Northeastern. Northeastern's going to drop the window to start things out, but Noxious is just tearing right through the Huskies. St. Clair wins another team fight and now moves on to the point to capture it.
And Flashpoint hadn't even been unlocked yet, so it was fine for them to wait and lie in wait for their prey to walk into the trap that they had set. However, it was May ult and Shatter, so two major CCQ buttons were expunged during that last engage. We are coming up on another Zarya ultimate. Radix will have beat online, but Scoop also has beat for the counter beat in this instance to equalize the team play.
Hillary doesn't get anyone, but plays a nice chunk of damage onto Scoop. The beat's going to be used in response to Northeastern's artillery. Helps St. Clair tank it out. The Dragon Strike, though, is going to punch through all of that. Picks up 2. St. Clair being forced back. They still have their tank, but not for much longer as all the DPSs fall from St. Clair. This Ryan is still trying to tank it out. Does manage to pick up 1. And now 2, though. I mean, hey, if he can be the Teemo himself, then he's going to do it. He needs to take back the point, though, because Northeastern was able to sneak that out from under St. Clair. He does. I guess no man is an island except for Squeak.
St. Clair is playing with fire. I understand ignoring the Hanzo on the off angle because you are a brawl comp, and really the only person who can do significant damage to that Hanzo is your Baptiste, meaning you can't look at your Reinhardt at the same time, or the Mei, but your Mei needs to apply front pressure to keep your Rhine alive. However, Sasha gets so much value by being ignored. But unfortunately, we do see Hedwig and Scoop go down for Sashi's team. Zarya's bubbles are being forced. G-Hop goes down. Redex is lost for the side of St. Clair, as is Emerin. It is a 3v1, and that is .2 Fountain in favor of St. Clair.
To do or die now for Northeastern. They have to pick the next 3 stages up to stay alive in this match. Squeak seems to be waiting for the rest of his team, or they can move over. Now, they don't have the Lucio stagger this time, so Northeastern should be able to meet St. Clair. In fact, they're going to be closer to the flashpoint, so now they get to set up in the location that they want. And that cheeky kind of flank that we saw from St. Clair earlier isn't going to be a factor this time.
Even if Squeak lands a massive shatter here, I believe all of that damage will be circumvented with a beat from Scoop. G-Hop does have Immortality Force. Immor from Razor's also used there is Shatter, but Squeak goes down, Razor goes down, Noxious goes down. It's just Emerin and Redex. who are getting staggered by the front line. Red-X is last to survive and last to go down, but nonetheless, that is point capture to Northeastern. And now the true fight begins, because right now, if they lose this one, that's the end of Flashpoint.
Got artillery and Dragon Strike to help defend it. They're also going to have Graviton Surge being brought out, which is going to be huge. St. Clair is only on the precipice with their two support ultimates, Window and Beat.
They do have Blizzard, which you can use to pseudo-counter the Grav, but you really got to play the plan is not long-range damage on the Graviton Surge, because in which case it doesn't help. We have Artillery Strike dropped early. It did end up forcing out Immortality from the side of Northeastern. Blizzard in response is going to go onto the back line of St. Clair. Bap is frozen. Hanzo's trying to do him as much damage as possible to keep Baptiste safe. Looks like it works out, but Noxus ends up picking up Zarya Gaming, and G-Hop gets dangerously low.
They was able to take the point. Both teams used all they had in terms of ultimates. Sashi being focused down. The rest of the Northeastern manages to respond, though. I'm going to try to find an off angle. Throw out a dart, just see where everyone is, and then gets the eye on everybody. Brings out the storm arrows. Tries to get right in the face of this BAP. And it stopped. And meanwhile, while that flank was being attempted, St. Clair on the front line was just completely winning that against Northeastern.
St. Clair has just passed Northeastern's percentage mark on .3. This next engage is the end-all, be-all if St. Clair ends up winning it out. We're going to have Window and Beat online for Northeastern, whereas we have Artillery Strike, Window, and almost Shatter online for St. Clair. Both windows are going to be used. The double Fire Strike will pick up Zarya Gaming. Bastion almost goes down to Hanzo, but Hedwig goes down. Squeak finds Scoop, and we have the Shatter go off for good measure. It's going to pick up Hanzo. No one else can touch, and that is St. Clair picking up the victory.
St. Clair is going to win this in a sweep. It's going to improve their record to 5-0 for the whole season. Dashi is going to be the one that picks up the play of the game. And I do think that is just a nice little nod over to Northeastern. They still have a lot of raw talent on their team.
Most definitely, and just I understand when the nerves start to get to you. Like Sashi, in the very beginning, popped off exponentially, but during this last map, it seemed like the need to succeed was overcoming just, breathing and staying calm, because I do think had Sashi been successful in some of these off angles that Sashi normally takes and is very good at, they would have been much better off. But unfortunately, again, also Sashi, not picking on you, it's just that our production, we were managing to get a lot of viewership on you because of the off angles being such a huge play that does happen during the last map. They didn't work out in your favor, and normally they do, so it was very uncharacteristic of what we normally see from your Hanzo gameplay. I mean,
just ask Emerin on Eichenwald with the Mercy Pocket. That off angle was just devastating.
Take it as a sign of respect if a DPS decides I need a Mercy Pocket in order to be able to beat you, because in the 1v1, obviously, you're causing enough frustration to require the extra help.
All right, well, we do have an interview on deck with one of the St. Clair squad. You're not going to want to miss that. Also, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors right now, helping bring NACE Starleague right to you. Of course, one of our main sponsors, Truth, one of the largest nonprofit health organizations dedicated to a future where tobacco and nicotine addiction is a thing of the past. To find out more information on the effects of vaping on your mental health, you can go to breathofstressair.com. Right, I think that just about does it all. We will be back with the interview and leave you with the top 5 plays of the game, or the highlights of the game, brought to you by Mavix Gaming Chairs. Mavix, feel the difference. Enjoy those highlights, and we'll be right back to talk to one of the players about the match we just saw. Stay tuned. It's likely St. Clair did have a bit of a problem. And this time, St. Clair. Welcome back to the NACE Starleague studio. Right now, we are just settling in, waiting for an interview with one of the St. Clair squads. We've got Razor coming into us across the border up north from Canada. Thank you so much for joining us, Razor. And we'll get Razor in pretty soon here. But I just have to say, if there was one match that you want to talk about, you know, kind of reflect on, it would have been that last one against kind of the other teams. These were the two kind of top dog undefeated teams going up against each other in their division.
They were, and really I want to focus on that second map in particular. Not so much Flashpoint, because after week 1 of NACE, it was kind of a hard decided fact that it would be like the King's Row for Jacob and I when it came to hybrid, that for Flashpoint it was most likely going to be Shirvasa. But on Eichenwald, I don't know if you recall, but we had a very similar situation last week on Ike with Northeastern, I believe even in that match, where there was a C9 involved. Mm-hmm. And so to see that happen twice, I want to know, like, in that moment when Sox got grabbed, and it was only Sox, I believe, or it was BAP. It might have actually been Razor in that instance. When supports got grabbed, but the tank and I think Tracer were still alive, was the call just made of like, let me to die, let me take this, let me act like I need to survive, like this is the last possible, you know, opportunity for our team to succeed, and pull all the possible attention away from the payload that I humanly can in this 1v3 I'm getting hit from every single direction, because it's a moment of panic, but if the moment of clarity comes through from a tank that's like, I'm C9ing, is that where like all the light bulbs start switching for you and you're like, okay, let's make this last as long as possible. I need to play my life, but it doesn't matter if I die.
And just looking back on that, it's probably the reason why Eichenwald was my favorite match to watch of that whole series, because of the amazing play, the amazing flanks that we saw on the Echo. Also, that extreme battle that we saw being brought out between the Echo and the Hanzo, using the copy to stick in it. I mean, at that point, I couldn't care less how the main fight was going. This was for honor. That was like the peak rivalry between the two DPSs.
And also considering Razor's one of the supports, we could ask, like, did Emerin make the call of, hey, I will find much more success if I have this Mercy pocket? And was it kind of like, okay, we'll give you the pocket type of instance, or was it a planned, we are going to be running the Mercy for the second half type deal? Because, you know, sometimes on attack you will run the Mercy instead, but you know, typically you'll see teams that have one comp and they run it the entire way. You don't see a one character shift. In this instance, Emerin getting the Mercy pocket from Sox.
St. Clair had a pretty similar season so far as Northeastern did. A lot of similar matchups. We saw the one that they had earlier against Ferris State. I believe that was in week 3. That was the one where we saw Kavushki playing his heart out on the Reaper. Made some pretty good plays against St. Clair, but overall, they were just, the St. Clair Saints were not going to be moved one way or the other.
And they are a team that is a force to be reckoned with. This is why they are they are undefeated currently. They are the only undefeated team now in their division, I believe. Correct? Mm-hmm. Yes. So this demonstrates why. And one thing I will say is typically, and I hinted at it early on, is that losing your main support, which is your Lucio, first is a death sentence for winning a team fight. However, a Lucio that is decent and spends a lot of time learning rollouts as well as playing a lot of Lucio Surf, understands how to wall ride properly, get out of spawn as fast as possible. And a lot of times where we did see one of the Lucios get eliminated, whether it be Scoop or whether it be Red X, if they were eliminated early, before the fight was even fully over, typically only one other person had been eliminated, and they're already back because they are so proficient at their Lucio gameplay. And so that in itself really demonstrated that this is why St. Clair is here, but also why Northeastern is up here, because their supports are so good at doing what they need to do.
And here's the stage we've been hyping up for so long. This was quite an impressive defense. I was talking so much about what St. Clair did on offense for Eichenwald, but when they were defending, it took Northeastern getting just about every single one of their ultimates and using them all at the same time to knock St. Clair off the point.
sometimes hit Q and win is the strategy you got to go with. There are instances where we'll see neutral fights where one team, it just becomes very lopsided. They get a very early pick and they're able to clean up in rapid succession thereafter when you're on offense. When you're on defense, that early pick, normally offense will just back off. So it doesn't really turn into any sort of rolling fight win. It's just you got one, they're backing off. So the mini skirmish that just occurred ends up being a victory for you. And we can see here a quick 1v1 between Emerin and Sashi.
I think this was the point where it started to become personal, where the rivalry was formed.
But I got very scared. I really did think Sashi had Emerin, especially when Bastion walked in. Emerin got away by the skin of their teeth. We do see Emerin again with the Echo copy, just dropping the pulse for good measure on payload. But it demonstrates the importance of every single role, but the off anglers, the importance of going and putting, when you know someone is as deadly as Sashi is, and you have to fully dedicate someone, i.e. Emerin in this instance, to go deal with them, that is a compliment over to Sashi's Hanzo play. But then having to put the Mercy on top of Emerin because Sashi is so deadly was honestly very respectful to Sashi, but I really do also feel bad for Sashi because it's like, I thought we were having a moment here, and now Mercy's here.
Why couldn't you just give me the camera earlier?
Oh, I do believe we are hearing audio, so we can hopefully bring Razor back in to talk with us. There we go. Thank you for joining us.
A long, perilous journey to get that working.
Well, it's been a long journey so far in your season. I mean, you're now 5-0, undisputed top in your division. Are you already looking to the postseason?
Yeah, I'd say we are. It's kind of hard to keep track of all the tournaments we have. We're playing in like 3 of them, I think, all for collegiate. So it's a little hard to keep track of which one's which, but I guess we are up at the top of that group for that one. Yeah.
Yep. You're currently undefeated, and I gotta say, Nerdy, there was some great play overall in just the way. I think you just ask it best because we've been going over all the highlights for the best plays, and it scrambles the mind how good some of them were.
Yes, so my question goes over to really on Eichenwald. You had Emerin, who was on Hanzo hunting duty for the majority of that map. It seemed like Emerin started to have a bone with Sashi, and the reverse was also true. But on second half of that map, you had Sox actually swap over to the Mercy. Was that a planned thing? Like, were you always going to have the Mercy pocket on Emerin, or was it more, Emerin is like 50-50 with Sashi right now, but if you have that Mercy pocket, then it's going to be heavily favoring Emerin?
Yeah, we just realized into their comp that Mercy on the Echo pocket, like Brig didn't really do much. I wasn't getting Dove ever. So we just decided to throw it all into James Emerin and just let him try and hard carry on Echo.
All right, and then to kind of close it out on a final note, we got to talk about how the Eichenwald stage was closed out with the C9. You were able to just kind of divert Northeastern's attention away from the point. Was there anyone who specifically made that call, or was it just a snap judgment decision?
So they grabbed Soaks and then all ran on him, and then Squeak just said, "I'm gonna go point," and then it just ended.
Well, hey, sometimes that's all you need. It was certainly an entertaining end for us, so thank you for putting on such a show.
Yeah, anytime. Try our best to do that every time.
All right. Well, enjoy your perfect season. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for our first stage. We've got 2 more Overwatch matches for you, so stay tuned. We're going to take a short break and then be back with more, so please don't go away.
Shattered, that's unfortunately whiffed. And Rudex is going to be the first one sent to the Shadow Realm from this. Zarya is going to be eliminated back quickly thereafter. So two, both Zarya Gaming and Squeak sent away from...
Field is thrown out in response, but it's taken out by Noxious and North.
This rate, it's like someone's trying to stand on top of tower, ends up going down.
Welcome back to the NACE Starleague studio. We roll on with our second Overwatch game of the day. We've got Southern Miss versus Mizzou ready to fight it out. Two pretty close schools, all from Mississippi and Missouri. Close states, kind of a regional rivalry thing going on right there. We wouldn't have it any other way, and by we, I mean myself, Jacob Palmer, and Colin Majunkin joining me right now. So Colin, tell us a little bit about Southern Miss. Currently, the record, Southern Miss is 1-2, and Mizzou is 2-1. But I understand Southern Miss has had kind of a rough schedule coming up to this match.
Yeah, and it's something where you don't even really have to talk specifically about Overwatch to even get into the point of having a rough schedule. It can be something of an enduring factor a little bit in terms of you've had such a tough schedule that it ends up being something of it almost makes you stronger mentally, or you almost bog yourself down as a team and other teammates, and you go, oh, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So it can be tough for a team to go through facing such a terrible, tough opponents like Oakland that both of these teams have faced and lost against. So, it sort of depends upon, are they out of the running yet? Not likely. Will they probably find themselves in LCQ? Maybe. We have yet to see, but it's really all about the mental entirety of what you do with it.
You mentioned Southern Miss went up against Oakland, then they had a bye in the second week, so they stood at 0-1. Then they went up against Boise State, and considering the fact Boise State was last fall's national championships, those are just two tough teams to go up against in your opening gambit. But they did win in week 4 against Kentucky, so now we'll see if they can take that win and parlay that into something bigger. Oh, yeah. Mizzou, on the other hand, though, big name school, is already off to a good start. Again, the only team that they've lost to is Oakland. It happened earlier, so we'll see how this fight right now turns out. We started off with Northeastern versus St. Clair. That was 1-3-0 sweep. Now we'll move on to the Tigers versus the Golden Eagles, and then we'll wrap it all up with Western Kentucky versus Drexel. Let's take a look also at the lineups for these two particular teams. On Southern Miss's side, we've got Starkey, Reflex, St. JJ Mimic, and my personal favorite, Whoa, Nelly.
On the side of Mizzou, we got Ashley, Tommy Salami, Gambit, Backstab Bud, and Clairvoyant.
Tommy Salami also is kind of a runner-up. I got to give that the honorable mention as well.
I think I like Gambit too.
But Whoa Nelly is just so great. All right, well, that's everything that we have lined up for this match. The only thing left is to check out what stage we'll be starting off on. We've got Lijon. So back, we've had so many kind of off picks. We started out on Oasis, but now we're back to everything we know. And this is going to be Lijon.
Yeah, just such a staple going forward. We've seen it a couple times. Actually, seen it not a couple times. That's an entirely wrong statement to make there. We've seen it a lot in terms of control, especially recently. I think saw it 2 times in terms of last week, if I remember correctly, working in the production room. But nonetheless, going to be heading right into it, getting a bit of a map preview.
We're going to take a look at all of the 3 stages that we have. We got Gardens, a night market, and Command Center. Oftentimes, I mean, Command Center normally turns into kind of a more closed-in space, a little bit more of a brawly composition, but every now and again, once in a blue moon, you can see right here, this ledge becomes dangerous territory for people who try to rotate in that direction.
Was it week 1 that we saw the Doomfist?
No, I think it was week 3.
It was week 3 we saw that. That's a play that's got to go down. And then fall 23 NACE, that's got to be, if there's an end reel, that's got to find its way into it.
Well, speaking of plays that did get into reels, we saw a play a few years ago by Boise State. Shows what can happen if you're a bit too gun-ho on charging into those windows on Gardens. You can all be pushed into the drink. So each of these stages, can have the outside chance of environmentals. I mean, Garden most definitely, but Night Market and Control Center, don't sleep on them. If someone's a little careless in their position, you can pay dearly for it. But we are going to head in, and we aren't going to see Night Market. Even when we do see it, I guess we should call it Day Market, because we're playing in the daytime on Lijon Tower, starting off on Gardens.
It's such a beautiful change of scenery. That's all. Just looking at the pure visual aesthetic here. Beautiful change of scenery.
It is a pretty game.
It is. They did a good job adding.
Every now and again, the small indie company can make some good eye candy.
They can add 2 different times of days into the game mode. That's not a bad thing.
No, it is nice to look at, and here we go. We're going to be starting off this match, Southern Miss versus Mizzou. Southern Miss already making their way toward the point. Not necessarily heeding my advice on the Symmetra teleport, but still managing to get away with it and set up the car wash inside of the point, where Mizzou is looking to retake. Bastion is going to be teleported over, handling a lot of damage down onto Mizzou. But it is going to be Backstab Bud who gets the first pick. Clairvoyant then comes in with the Zarya to clean up matters even more. And that's a pretty darn landslide of a team fight in favor of the Tigers.
Yeah, I saw exactly what Southern Miss was going for that TP. Try and get the Bastion around, get a bit of a flank. Potentially get a quick pick, was not able to do it. Southern Miss is going to regroup entirely. You got Backstab looking pretty good on the ult charge as well. That's going to get laid up pretty quickly as well if you keep up that same. And Gambit's going to get a rotating Baptiste with the headshot there. And now Southern Miss is already starting this fight 1 down.
Start they wanted to get up against, and Mimic also is going to fall, as well as just about everybody else. As Genji is being unrelenting, and the supports are doing a good job also. One boop also from the Lucio. I always like to see my environmentals, and so Mizzou is definitely fulfilling that role so far.
Bringing his rotate going as well. Grouping up. Use that Rhine shield to safely get everybody across. Might be going for that same strategy to make sure nobody gets headshot this time around, but they're not aware of the Lucio sitting behind them. Attempts to go for the boost, not able to get it. Gonna commit the Zarya bubble. Make sure they get out safely. Trying to turn to 5 strikes goes out. A lot is getting deflected by the Genji, but none of it's going to find any value though. You do have overclocked window as well as Blade. And Blade's going to be committed as well. The window goes out from the side of Southern Miss. Quite a bit of deflect. Starkey's going to get a pick onto Gambit, though. Mizzou's going to start off the -1. Mizzou doesn't get anything to counter back with it, as Beat is also committed to this fight as well.
Gonna help Southern Miss tank out all this damage that Mizzou is pouring onto them, but now Mizzou has their own beat to use as well as the overclock. There's nothing left for Southern Miss to defend themselves. They're gonna be using, though, the artillery to be able to take out Tommy Salami. Clairvoyant also falls. St. JJ is also gonna get on the action, taking out Backstab Bud. The point is taken by Southern Miss. Not a moment too soon. 99% gained by Mizzou.
I think every single ult in the game got used besides Southern Miss's Rhine right there. I think Shadow was the only ult that didn't get brought up, and it could be wrong with that. But to go 9 out of 10 ults there and to still end up winning that fight. But Mizzou is sitting at 99% right now. And Southern Miss is trying to hold this choke point. Notice Mizzou does not go that roundabout way that Southern Miss was going about, and that's going to be St. JJ going down as well as Mink. Gambit's also going to pick up the second as well. This could be Mizzou taking back the point. Southern Miss might not be able to get a touch after. There's just the lone VAP.
Oh, they took it away from him. Is Southern Miss even going to get back to the point? No! That is rough. All right, Mizzou takes the first stage. Going to get the win on Gardens. Now we head over to the next stage on the lineup, and just a quick look at the replays as we confirm Command Center is going to be the next stage. Zarya was really kind of instrumental in helping Mizzou get back to the point. We saw Southern Miss's Rhine continually peek out from behind the wall and then just had so much damage placed to his face. So as long as, you know, if your team's shooting those bubbles and feeding those Zaryas, it's going to be a rough road for you.
Oh, it's going to be tough. And just as Artie, who was in this chair right before me, was saying, you kind of just walk past that shield and continue doing your damage. You don't have anything to really counter it. Gambit now on the switch on the Sim as well. Going to be seeing a May on the side of Southern Miss as well, as Clairvoyant's going to get a Fire Strike as well as Backstab to get the enemy Sim. Thomas Lime is going to be credited for one. Clairvoyant's going to get the second as well. And that is Southern Miss completely out of the first fight. And now the leftover Lucio is going to make sure they cap the point.
Yeah, there's absolutely no disagreement on the strategy here. It is the Rhine-May brawl composition. I want to be watching out for those walls, see where they are placed, if they can get maybe one squishy, or even better, if they can all focus down the tank on one side of the wall. There goes the wall up, but it's not going to split Mizzou up too much. In fact, they set up a teleport to help them just get back to the point, draw Southern Miss in further through the hallway. Around this corner, teleport is attempted. They're able to get the Rhine back onto the points. Now he's trying to just play around the pillar. Mizzou has already captured it, however, so all this time they are picking up more and more score. Clairvoyant gets the first pick of the fight onto Starkey. It's traded back by Mimic. Tommy Salami and Ashley tag team taking out both supports for the Golden Eagles. Reflex also bad on health. He's going to be taken out as well. Mizzou is losing a few here and there, such as Gambit, but Backstab Bud and Ashley still being just enough to... and isn't even going to pay attention to that car wash beam. It's only one, and he's a Lucio, so he can just heal himself up. That's funny.
It tickles. It only tickles just a slight bit. Mizzou is now sitting at 58% right now as it continues to climb up. Southern Miss regrouping. We're going to get this contest. More turns going to be placed out in the turn. Now going to take it on the top portion. Particle Barrier is available for the side of Southern Miss. If they choose to use it, they're going to go ahead and use it as well as they charge onto point. Pretty charged up Sim is trying to hunt down a support, not able to quite get it though. No clear picks. Blizzard's also going to be committed to this fight as well. Starkey going to get out of the ice block. Going to catch two right now. Might be looking for the third. Clairvoyant's going to swing a bit of the hammer. Not going to be able to do it though.
We're in pure desperation tactics for Southern Miss right now. Even if this Lucio respawns, he's only respawning with 7% left for Mizzou, so they're going to bring out the ball instead. Race toward point, and they managed to get a touch on it to bring it into overtime. Southern Miss now is going to spend the beat, help that tank and Reflex out on point. Reflex is going to be able to take out Ashley. This could be the start of something beautiful for the Golden Eagles, but they're going to have to deal with this May coming with a Blizzard in tow. Throws the wall up. Reflex managing to take out Backstab but Southern Miss, by the skin of their teeth, might have just been able to survive on point. They just got to take out this Rhine and the Moira. He's focused down. The Moira's trying to escape, and they still managed to pick up Ashley. Oh, boy. Just very, very close, but Southern Miss managed to do it.
The light at the end of the tunnel, they saw it and they definitely found it here. Looking at the same thing as his first point, where Mizzou sitting at 99, and Southern Miss is going to come and clutch at the very last second. Particle Barrier for the side of Mizzou is committed as well, but Blizzard might be a good way to counter that, though. Blizzard is also going to be deployed as well. Gonna find quite a bit as well. Gonna at least get the Sim. There were there as well. Gonna save Smetra's life right there. Starkey's trying to find something here. And
that's a huge shatter!
Wow.
Clairvoyant just lays it down and then goes swinging right into the Golden Eagles. There's no tank left, only Mimic. They're gonna wall him off, try to get him off the point, not even gonna allow him to touch it and stall things out. Mizzou wins it 2-0 in Control.
Really quick play of the game right here.
Ashley, we've got a support play of the game from this Lucio.
There's that bit of environmental you're talking about as well. Got two. One for each point right here. Yep, gets a second.
I mean, again, not as pronounced as on Garden, but still, if you're up there, you'll find yourself you're gonna meet your new friend Gravity very, very fast.
Very quickly. And it's exactly what you talked about right there as well. Just not even to really stick on it too much, but you sort of lose sight of it a little bit, and then you end up finally finding yourself falling off the edge of the map. And we're not necessarily like that map was even very killable in the sense that probably could have had a retaliated play in that fight. So that boop does come in massive play, but Mizzou's going to take first point, move it on to second. I'm just waiting to find out what the second map is going to be.
And something tells me if we're going back to the old favorite of Legion on Control, then we might just see another old favorite be brought out. We often joke about it so much, but non-sarcastically, my actual prediction for this is going to be Kings Row. I do think we see it.
You know, I'm gonna stick with Eichenwald.
Okay.
I'm not going to differ. I think it is a bit of a trend away from Kings Row. It's sort of I'm gonna go with the data and what it supports. I guess it's not as grounded as the past decade as you're speaking. We only really saw Kings Row play, but I'm gonna stay hopeful here.
We'll see if all your hope is good or if it's going to be misplaced. Southern Miss gets the choice of stage. Then it's going to go over back to Mizzou to decide what side they're going to be on. Of course, it is standard opening just to choose defense, because if Mizzou is feeling really good about themselves, they can just hold before that first point, which is something that's a little bit tougher on Kings Row, just because that spawn just away from you is just hard to get there. And it is. There we go. Things are all back to normal.
No. We don't want this. At least I don't want this. This is personally my first time casting for NACE Overwatch. I've done it a few other times, but I know many other experienced casters have only seen Kings Row, but I've only ever been on the desk for it maybe 3 times, and I've only seen Kings Row.
If you're wanting to go into casting Overwatch, not wanting to cast Kings Row, you're in for a huge disappointment very soon in your career.
You know, I guess I crushed all hope right there. I'll throw out everything else out the window, and I'll just stick to the regulars.
All right. Well, Kings Row, I gotta say, it's either one or the other. Either we see a complete hold on the first point, or it usually goes into a knockdown, drag him out fight all the way to the third point. Some of the longest and closest overtime rounds that I've seen take place on Kings Row. But with the way Mizzou played, I have to think that their whole strategy here is just going to have a hard defense. And they did so well on the brawly compositions, too. We do sometimes see the Ryan May brawl on Kings Row as well. So maybe it might just be a run-it-back scenario.
Yeah, and that sort of what was, that wall and maul type composition as well at the Sim. This is going to allow you so much punish. Especially if you end up catching them outside the choke point. If you're playing defensively and you manage to cut somebody off from the team, if you know how to punish quickly, that health bar is going to drop fast, and that can be the difference between winning a fight and losing it.
Bit of a cheeky angle also by
Yeah.
this Genji, keeping theater open as an option. They also have just one player positioned up, trying to get a peek here or there. Then they're going to go back at the end of their scouting mission.
Widow up top as well. Just going for a bit of scout though, not going to stick with it though. Swap to the sim.
Oh my goodness, they've got the Bastion here. This is the comp where Southern Miss, if they want to, could try Statue of Liberty. I don't know if we completely see that because sometimes you just transport the Bastion to high grounds on the other side of the point, but either way, we'll see how this pick works out for them. Right now, they're finding themselves pinned down on the other side of the statue. They go to the teleport up to the high ground. This is the route we normally see being taken by these kind of off-route compositions. Problem is, it does take a long time to get over to the other opening and finally get down onto the point. Ryan is going to drop down now. It's Ryan and Zarya going after each other. Bubble onto the Genji to help keep that Squishy alive. The Bastion is going to drop down to ground level, force a bunch of damage out onto Mizzou, but it's Backstab Bud who takes out Woe Nelly, and then Clairvoyant also gets a pick onto Reflex. Mimic also falls along with Starkey. It's going to be